The movie begins today with a woman named Marsha, who is holding her weapon, and it appears that a murder has taken place at the scene. Marsha calmly cleans the room and the walls from the traces of blood on them, and afterward she goes to wipe her face clean of the blood. Despite everything she's doing, Marsha shows emotional stability. 6 months pass since the unknown crime, and we see Marsha sitting in her home, enjoying herself and listening to music. As soon as the clock strikes midnight, we see a car entering Marsha's yard, and 3 young men get out. They knock on Marsha's door and calmly ask her to come out and discuss things with them, or they will burn her house down, and at that point, there will be no room for discussion. Marsha steps outside, feeling anxious. Wayne speaks to her, saying that they are 3 brothers and that they know she wants to sell her house and that they will buy it for the amount she wants. However, Marsha refuses and tells them she won't leave her home. At that moment, Wayne threatens her, saying that if she doesn't come out at the same time the next day, they will burn her house down and kill her, knowing that no one will defend her because, in the eyes of the whole village, she is a lonely widow, and also a burden. After that, Wayne leaves, going off with his brothers. The next day, Marsha calls the police, and Officer Bale arrives. Marsha tells him about the threats she received from Wayne and his brothers and shows him the knife they left on her doorstep. But Bale doesn't believe her and tells her she has no proof of her claims or any evidence to incriminate Wayne. At that point, Marsha realizes that Bale is siding with Wayne and his brothers, and he won't help her even if she has evidence. Jessie, Marsha's daughter, arrives and learns from her what happened yesterday. She shows Marsha the knife and the deed that Wayne left behind. Jessie tells her mother that she won't be able to stand up to them alone, which frustrates Marsha because she knows they are taking advantage of her being alone with no one to defend her. Jessie urges her to accept their offer, but Marsha refuses, saying she won't leave the home she has lived in with her husband for years. Jessie tells her that at the very least, she should leave the house today. At that moment, Marsha gets angry, hits her daughter, and tells her that she won't change her decision. Meanwhile, we see Wayne sitting with his brothers, Derek and JR, discussing Marsha and their next plan with her. However, they are surprised when Wayne says that there is no plan because he is sure she will leave them the house since she won't be able to stand up to them. Derek asks, "What could happen if she refuses their offer?" Wayne responds that he will take care of her and that he can prove it was just an accident. But Derek rejects his words and his plan, telling him that he will inform their father about what's going on. Wayne then pulls out a gun and threatens his brother, telling him not to mention anything to their father about what they are doing. At the same time, their father walks in and overhears their conversation, discovering Wayne's plan. That's why he kicks his sons out and leaves Wayne alone to talk to him. He tells Wayne that what he's doing is wrong and that he shouldn't take a step that could harm him in this way. But Wayne doesn't care about his advice and tells him that he will go through with his plan. At that moment, the father takes the gun that Wayne threatened his brother with, aims it at him, and pulls the trigger. At that point, we discover that the gun is empty. The father continues speaking, telling Wayne that his behavior is wrong and that he will realize this after it's too late. He leaves Wayne and walks away. At that moment, Wayne asks how he knew that the gun was unloaded. They assume he didn't know because that would mean he genuinely intended to kill him. Meanwhile, Marsha decides to ask the pastor for protection and help. She realizes that it's best for her to sell the house, take the money, and free herself from the prison she has locked herself in. She also decides to start attending church services again, as she hasn't been since her husband's death. After that, Marsha returns home, determined to handle things on her own. She pulls out her old gun from her bag and starts searching for all the weapons in the house, practicing how to use them easily. At night, Marsha prepares all the weapons and stands behind the door, waiting for them, ready to attack at any moment. When the clock strikes midnight, Officer Bale goes to the entrance of the road to secure the area for Wayne. After that, we see Wayne and his brothers in front of Marsha's house, and as soon as JR stands in front of the door, a shot is fired from Marsha's rifle, hitting him, and he falls to the ground, screaming in pain. Everyone is in shock from what just happened. JR tells them they need to take him to the hospital because he feels like he's dying, but Wayne is determined to finish what he came for and take the house. Despite Derek and JR's pleas for him to turn back, he decides to go through with it, even if it means he might die. Derek tells him that Marsha has a weapon and that the fight between them won't be easy. Wayne replies that she's old and won't be able to stand up to young men like them. Besides, they say she's alone and won't be able to secure all the doors and windows of the house by herself. Derek suggests going to get the weapons from the car, reassuring JR that they will finish the job quickly and come back for him, and he will be fine. After that, Wayne agrees with Derek that they will burn the house from the back door and asks JR to try to distract Marsha with his voice so that she stays away from the back door. JR starts speaking loudly, provoking her with his words, telling her that she's just an old, lonely woman, and that people in the village see her as an evil witch, and after they kill her, no one will notice her absence or mourn her death because no one loves her. Meanwhile, Wayne and Derek reach the back door of the house, and Wayne tells Derek that he will enter through the back to check the place out. He asks him to cover his back until he makes sure the area is clear. Then he calls for him to enter together. Wayne begins to execute the plan. As soon as he enters through the back door, he is surprised to see Marsha standing in front of him with her gun aimed at him. Wayne asks her to calm down so they can figure out a solution, but Marsha tells him that he started the war with her because he thought she was weak. But she's not weak, and she's not leaving her home where she's lived all her memories. Just before she pulls the trigger on her gun, Wayne pushes her and quickly exits the house. At that moment, JR hears the gunshot and yells to his brothers, which is why he fires a shot from his gun, causing Marsha to follow the sound in that same moment when Wayne and Dick are storming into the house from the back door. This time, they don't find Marsha, so Derek tells Wayne to trust him and search for her in the house. After that, Derek moves quietly and cautiously through the house, opening rooms while terrified, but he can't find her anywhere until he sees her sitting in a corner of the house behind a glass door. Without hesitation, he pulls out his weapon and shoots at her, but he's shocked to find that the door is bulletproof, and his bullet doesn't affect her. With just one shot from her powerful rifle, not only can she penetrate that bulletproof glass, but the bullet also hits Derek in the arm, causing him to lose his weapon completely. Derek falls to the ground, screaming in pain. At that moment, Marsha speaks loudly to Wayne, telling him that she has taken out his two brothers and that he is the only one left. She realizes that Derek is bleeding heavily and that if he continues on his course, everyone will die. She gives him a 10-second chance to surrender his weapon and come take his bleeding brother. As the countdown begins, Wayne gets scared and throws the gun to her, which prompts her to tell him to come closer to save his brother. Wayne runs to stop Derek's bleeding. Marsha tells him to go get the car so he can leave and leave his brother with her. At that moment, Wayne tells her that she's a coward, but Marsha cuts him off, saying that he's the coward for trying to pressure a lone woman and take her house from her because he thought she was weak. But her strength and courage shock them all. Suddenly, she tells him that she has changed her mind and instructs Derek to go get the car and leave Wayne as a hostage with her. Derek quickly moves and pulls himself toward the door, struggling with the pain that makes him barely able to stand on his own feet. Meanwhile, Marsha continues to talk to Wayne, threatening him with the gun, saying that she will not give up her house no matter what happens. At that moment, Wayne explodes in anger, telling her that this is not her house and that it has been their home for years, but because of the civil wars that occurred in the village, they had to leave the house temporarily. That's when Marsha and her husband came to the village and took the house, claiming it as theirs. He realizes that he just wants to get back his house that was stolen from him years ago, nothing more. At the same time, we see Derek helping JR reach the car, and they realize that Marsha has become much stronger than they imagined, which is evident from the arm he lost because of her. Derek tells him they need to get the car and take Wayne and get out of there fast, but JR is angry with Derek, telling him they need to stand up to Marsha, not run away from her. Derek tries to convince him that they really won't be able to overcome her. While they're talking, they see Jessie driving into her mother's house, and Derek decides to use this opportunity to save his brother. He goes to stand in front of her car and tells her that her mother is injured and needs to come with him right away. But Jessie isn't confident in him, so she makes him take off his clothes to make sure he isn't hiding a weapon. She has him walk in front of her while holding a stick to threaten him with. But as soon as they enter the house, Derek manages to tie her up and threatens Marsha with her, telling her that he has her daughter with him, and if she thinks about hurting her brother, he will kill her. Derek takes her to the kitchen and is determined to make her lose her hand just like her mother did to him. At that moment, Jessie screams in fear, causing her mother to worry about her and agree to let Wayne go. Derek leads Jessie to the entrance, and then Wayne stands in front of her, recalling that he was with her at school, and that she had a group of friends, and they would go smoke behind his father's field. Jessie says she remembers him and that they didn't just go smoke behind that field, they also tried to mess up the field in any way they could because they hated it and hated his dad, who was always domineering and yelled at them. At that point, he gets angry from what she's saying and rushes back to the kitchen before Marsha can react. He grabs a knife from the kitchen and threatens her with it, speaking loudly so Marsha can hear. He tells Jessie that his dad taught him how to hunt prey and how to clean it, and he starts explaining all the steps to her to scare her and show her that he can kill her easily. Meanwhile, Marsha is terrified for her daughter, so she tells Wayne that she will surrender all the weapons in exchange for her daughter's safety. She starts handing over all the weapons, and Derek takes them from her and writes them down. He's determined to stab her in the hands, but Wayne stops him and gives her the house sale papers to sign. He tells her that as soon as she signs the papers, they will leave and take her daughter with them. But Marsha holds onto the house with her last breath, which allows her to overpower Derek and stab him in the hand, injuring him and allowing her to escape. At the same time, Jessie manages to escape from Wayne, and Wayne gets angry at his brother Derek, who he always sees as a failure and who ruins all his plans. So he raises his weapon without hesitation and shoots him in the head, killing him. Meanwhile, JR sees what's happening, so he asks Wayne to kill him too, but Wayne refuses. JR then asks him why he killed Derek, and Wayne tells him it was unnecessary and just a weakness for them. He tells JR that if he wants to die, he can kill himself. At that moment, JR tells him that he's sure God won't forgive him if he kills himself, and at the same time, he feels helpless and is dying slowly, needing to get out of what he's in. Despite JR's suffering, Wayne shows no mercy, leaves him, and walks away. Marsha listens to their entire conversation, crying as she hears JR's words, and her memories take her back 6 months to when her husband was alive, when he was in the advanced stages of illness to the point where he couldn't take care of himself in the simplest matters, nor could he even speak normally. This always made her feel he was helpless, causing Marsha to suffer as she watched him in his final days, unable to help him. One day, her husband asked her to relieve him from the pain he was in and kill him herself. Even though the decision was difficult for Marsha, she decided to fulfill his last wish, and she did kill him, freeing him from the suffering he was enduring. We learn that this was the crime that happened in Marsha's house 6 months ago. Marsha wakes up from her memories, realizing she has to put an end to the chaos in her home. At the same time, Wayne is looking for her until he enters her room, discovering she's hiding in there. Wayne says from behind the door that he has 3 bullets and that he will give her a chance to come out on her own and negotiate, but if he opens the door, he'll shoot her with all the bullets he has. After a few moments pass without any response from Marsha, Wayne decides to open the door. As soon as he opens the door, he's surprised and gets shot immediately. Marsha exits the room and goes to JR, deciding to end his suffering, and she does kill him, though she's affected by it. At that moment, Bane arrives at Marsha's house after noticing Wayne and his brothers were late. As soon as he enters the house, Marsha asks him if he has a permit to enter her home, and she kills him too without hesitation. Here, Marsha feels relieved after getting rid of everyone who was bothering her. And that's where today's film ends. If you enjoyed today's movie, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.